Hi, let me just show you some of my pictures. My pictures basically come in three sizes: small, medium and large. Some of the small ones are my earlier ones, which we've got up on the wall in this room, which we call the garden room because it's out in the garden, sort of. And you can recognise them, I'm sure, from the website. Okay. Now the one that's up here, which my son, who's doing the filming, will show you in a second, is one that I entered into a competition that George Shaw did at the Herbert Art Gallery in Coventry. It didn't win, obviously, but it was my first attempt at doing a competition. And this year I've got two paintings, hopefully, in a competition. One which is going to go into the BP Awards at the National Portrait Gallery in London, and one which is entered for the John Moores Prize at the Water Gallery in Liverpool. And you'll see that one in a minute. Right, so these are my sort of small paintings. There's the fish one, and there's the very first painting I did, which I don't have on my website, but it's a copy of a Farquharson, is it Farquharson or Farquhar, I can't remember now, painting. Not as good as this, obviously. Right, so if my son will point towards me again, we're now going up into the attic because I've got some of my medium-sized pictures stored up there. So we'll go up there now. Right, well here we are in the attic. What I've got in the attic basically is paintings that really are too big for the walls downstairs. And the first one you'll probably recognise is the one I did, self-portrait. Every good artist does a self-portrait, so that's that one. You'll see that on the website, obviously. Here's the one I did, which I copied Monet's Entrée à Giverny en hiver, which I think I just called Entrance to Giverny in the winter. But as my attempt at doing a Monet, I think I'd like to do a bit more to this actually. Stick a bit more paint on it. Right. Right, next one was one of my political ones, which started off as, or I can't remember what it started off as, but it ended up as this anyway. And this is all about, you know, how the state sort of, you know, dictates to you. You know, even in our so-called democracy, we still get state interference that stops you doing things. Anyway, that's my little rant about the state. And then we've got one of the first ones I did, which is my copy of Munch's Scream, the one that was sold for $74 million or pounds or whatever it was. I don't suppose it matters to be that sort of price. And so I thought, well, I can't afford that, so let's do one for myself. So that's my attempt at doing a Munch, or one of the Screams, one of the four Screams he did. Alright, my next one, well, I'll show you this one first. This is my copy of a painting I've always liked. I sort of first came across it when I was a teenager. It's Picasso's Weeping Woman, which it was done around about the same time as Guernica, and it's a woman who was in the town of Guernica at the time of the bombings, and she was also seemingly about to go out to the market to buy food when the German bombers struck. So that's my copy of Picasso's Weeping Woman, which I quite like actually. Right, now from that I then read in the newspaper about the terrible things that were happening in Hula and Khubair in Syria. This is about 2 years ago now. This is January 2014, so I'm talking about 2 years ago. And that was my attempt at sort of doing that. So a mixture of Picasso and a bit of the Sergei Eisenstein's picture from Batsheva Potemkin, The Screaming Woman, which seems to have influenced quite a lot of people. Okay, so that was that. Again, I did that about 2 years ago. And then, about the same time, they began, sounds a bit sort of morbid all this, but they began to dig up the bodies that were murdered at Srebrenica. So 2 years ago they began to find the bodies, and that reminded me of the terrible events at Srebrenica, when the boys and men were taken away and murdered from a so-called UN secure zone. So that was my sort of attempt at that. Don't know how successful it is, really, to be honest with you, but that was my attempt at it. Right, the next one is another picture which had a big influence on me when I was a teenager, and it's Salvador Dali's Premonition of Civil War, which I believe was originally called Self-Construction with Boiled Beans. So I did a copy of that, but I couldn't be bothered really, I suppose, putting in all the detail near the bottom where the boiled beans are. If you look at the original painting, it's a bit more complicated than the one I've done. But I was quite pleased with the way the skies turned out and that sort of thing. So that's my Premonition of Civil War copy of. And then, now this is the one that I've entered for the John Moores Painting Prize. Now, if it gets selected for exhibition, I'll be delighted. But anyway, so this is it, and I've called it. It's one that started off from a picture actually of the skies over Perthshire a couple of years ago, and developed into this eventually. And I've called it Repossession 2013, and it's supposed to represent, might be a bit sort of, I don't know, it's cliched really, I suppose. But it represents, you know, when everything seems to go wrong in life, you know, when you can't pay your mortgage, the debt collectors are hammering on the door. So perhaps the three praying ravens, or whatever they are, maybe they're supposed to represent the mortgage people, the payday loan companies, the pawnbrokers, you know. So basically that's it. So there we are. So that's that. So that's waiting here, hopefully, to be taken up to Liverpool, but I don't know if it will be. Right, and that's it. Right, where we're going next is outside to show you where I do all this creative work. Okay, so that's it, folks. See you outside in a minute. Right, well, this is where I do all my work, and it's quite a small space, and so with my large pictures, I need to come outside, look through the window to see if I've got my horizontals and verticals right, which I often don't. But I've done so much painting now that I really don't care whether the horizontals and verticals are right anyway. Right, so this is where I go in here. It's a bit difficult to get in. One has to climb through lots of stuff. Right, and it's in here where it all happens. Right, now let's start. This one is my masterpiece, which I must admit I do quite like, although it's a bit strange. Now, a lot of my paintings are strange. Now, recently, you know, as I did the Monk Scream because of the silly price that was paid for the original, I also decided to do, for my own benefit, a copy of the Francis Bacon Freud triptych, which obviously is nothing like the standard at which Bacon paints, but it's not bad, and it'll not cost you £140 million like the original done. And so that's the second one there, and the third one, not finished yet obviously. I've still got the other bits to stick on. I've got to do up the painting a bit more. Right, so that's that. Around the back, I'll have to watch this because it's a bit wet. But around the back there, if I can just move this slightly, you can see how difficult it is to work in here, but I managed just. The rafters, something's getting in the way and everything. Right, round there you can see, if my son can just show you, that painting there is a sort of another edition of the one that's behind me. And then there's that one, which was the one I did, the girl with the gold cross, which I've, you know, I've altered because I thought it was a bit boring. I'll have to do a lot more to that as well, probably. And then this one, which I quite like, but I haven't got the faces quite right yet, is, you know, my meeting of minds on Primrose Hill. Primrose Hill, because as you can see in the background, it's that famous Bill Brandt photograph of Francis Bacon on Primrose Hill. And I've got this elderly couple quite happily sitting there with no clothes on, eating ice creams, with their dog at the feet. Don't say it's because I can't draw feet. Although it might be true. Right, so that's that. Let me just get this painting done without getting paint all over me. Oh God, I remember. Right, hang on. Let me just show you the one that I'm hoping, well, I'm not hoping, I am entering it. It is entered already. I've got to take it down to London. But hopefully it may get selected, but it's highly unlikely. That's the one I'm putting in for the, don't go too near it. That's the one I'm putting in for the BP award, but I've got a lot to do yet to it. It's getting there, but it's not professional, obviously. There's a copy I'm in the middle of doing, or not in the middle of doing it, I started doing it ages ago and abandoned it, but I'll go back to it eventually. You recognise that as American Gothic. These are other ones I've done, which you'll see on my website. Again, still got to be finished. These are two young lads, obviously wheeling a shopping trolley, and it was off a photograph that was taken in Greece when, you know, the economic crisis. I think it's still an economic crisis. And another big one that I'm doing, and then there's that one there. Right, so what else have I got? What else have I got? Make my own frames, as you can see. This is going to be the frame for that one, which with a bit of luck will be hanging in the National Portrait Gallery. Ha ha, but never mind. One lives in hope. That one, again, a bit very old-fashioned. Mechanical Man. Oh, and my famous, my famous copy of the, Jack Vetriano, The British Are Coming. So I've got to get that one finished off as well. So that's in the progress, and there's a whole pile of stuff here. Nothing. Which is my favourite here from here? Oh, I don't know what I've got here that's of any good. No, they're all on the website anyway. No, there's nothing there particularly brilliant. Let me just fallen down. Oops. Right. So this is where I work. I could do with, I mean, Francis Bacon had a small studio, but nothing as small as this. maybe the quality of the painting is in inverse proportion to the size of the room. So the smaller the room, the greater the painting. Do you think that might be true? Which means these things are masterpieces worth millions of quid. Right, that's it, folks. Finished now.